This is an SM Media production.
Hello, folks, and welcome to our new series of SM Media's Road to Cheltenham 2024. I'm Scott McPike. It's always a pleasure to be your host, and I'm always delighted to be joined by from the Scottish Daily Mail, the one and only Calum McClurkin. Calum, the jumps are back.
They are indeed, yeah. It's a nice start to. By the time mid-November's come, I think we've seen quite a few decent performances, and I've gutted out my horse tracker and put more horses in that I usually kind of at this point. So there's been some pretty impressive displays over the last couple of weeks. Novices that have been earmarked out that have all performed pretty well up to standard at the moment. Gordon Elliott, Down Royal, and no change there. We've seen Nicky Henderson have a decent 2-miler come out. Paul Nicholls' Albert Bartlett were backing things up. Different yards, having probably promising starts. So quite a lot of encouragement. Just a shame about some of the weather probably getting too involved and cancelling quite a lot of these meetings.
Yeah, I mean the kind of two big kind of bugbearers so far have been obviously the weather kind of cancelling affairs and the low sun, but they're the sort of things that we can moan about, but we can't fix them.
There's not a lot you can do about that. The weather up there, I was looking forward to go to Ayr on Wednesday,
Yeah.
but obviously that was kiboshed quite quickly. Just quite a lot of big downpours that are kind of ruling that out and waterlogging certain sections. For the low sun, that tends to happen. The old Roan chase was a bit of a farce as a result of it, but
Yeah.
that's nothing new there. The Greatwood this Sunday usually has hurdles taken out of it. It happens. I think the argument can be if races can be scheduled a little bit better to be around it. I mean, the sun goes up at the same time, comes down at the same time. You should roughly know what kind of position it is. Maybe you can kind of organise races a little bit better to kind of try and avoid it a little bit more. But that's nitpicking at its highest order at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have a different feel to the kind of show this year. We're obviously still going to have the recap. We'll preview what's coming up over the weekend. We're going to be a kind of big talking point, like eye-catching news over the week that we're going to spend a bit of time on. And we're going to kind of do things differently in terms of anti-post. We're not going to have anti-post picks every week. We're going to have like trackers and things like that. So we will kind of change it up a wee bit, but we'll start with a big lucky 15. We'll have 4 horses to put into that for the season. We'll always start that way with the season. But let's move in. We'll start obviously I put the kind of word out for some questions, got some in. First question, besides the Cheltenham Festival, what's the best jump meeting of the season? Callum, what's yours?
Well, that's a tough one. I quite like Leopardstown at Christmas. I think it just kind of sets things up for the season, really. Get the King George as well on. You've got kind of good surrounding stuff on that time, and it is quite well prolonged from Boxing Day onwards to kind of the 30th of December, really. Sometimes it's a good 4 or 5 day kind of meeting. Mm-hmm. It's probably where Willie Mullins throws his big guns, takes on Gordon Elliott, Henry de Bromhead as well, and it's your first kind of real test of your Cheltenham portfolio, really. So that would definitely be up there. I do enjoy going to Musselburgh on the weekend when the Irish Dublin Racing Festival's on. So personally, as one to go to, going to that and watching that on the big screen in between, because it normally times quite well, and then Slightly Aintree and Ayr in behind would definitely be up there on my list.
Yeah, I always like, obviously Christmas is busy, Dublin Racing Festival. The kind of meeting I always quite like is it kind of always signifies the kind of start of the jump season for me is the Fairy House kind of Royal Bond, Ridmore, Hans Grace meeting, always like that, because it's like last year, for example, like Lossiemouth came out then, we saw a really good Drinmore, Honeysuckle was beat. It was a really good meeting. There's always exciting contests in that, so I would always say that. I always like kind of like Tingle Creek and things like that as well. Kind of that kind of between probably now and Christmas, every week there's something big. Always like the November meeting that we're going to talk about this weekend as well. So there are a lot that, like, from every week from now to Cheltenham, there is a kind of big race. So there's always something to think about and focus on. And as I say in the comments, let me know what your favourite jump meeting of the season is. Next question: with the British, a lot more horses going to Britain in terms of point-to-point backgrounds, will we see an improvement in terms of challenging the Irish dominance over the next few years?
Tough to judge because the Irish look so strong, still do. It was 18-10 last season, the Cheltenham factor. There are certain divisions that Britain look really weak in. The 2 mile novice division, chasing division anyway, is certainly one. There's stables like Lucinda Russell, the Oliver Greenall and Josh Guerrero's stable that are seriously on the rise. Harry Derham is at a decent start as well. So I think there's kind of new established. I mean, Lucinda Russell Yard was established anyway, but they are growing and they are getting a bit more competitive. And it's just breaking this kind of, I think it'll be generally competitive, but it's this monopoly of Willie Mullins that just dominates, and that raises the bar in Ireland significantly, and you get much more kind of deeper races there, and you can kind of get away with kind of protecting a mark a little bit. If you're coming up, like even for instance in Facile Vega and in the pocket in one of these chases, novice chases coming up, I mean, you don't want to be within 20-30 lengths of that to avoid the handicap on it in a way. So I think we're getting a bit better at kind of mapping our horses out a little bit more effectively for bigger targets. But I think Ireland they've still got the kind of ammunition, and most owners still want to go there. And Willie Mullins is still number one, and with the number one and number two, and Gordon Elliott probably is, the best horses, the best owners, and the money's just going to naturally transcend theirs. But while I think there is a bit of hope in behind that Britain are kind of being a bit more shrewder about things and maybe closing the gap, but I think it's going to take a long time to kind of see any real effect on it.
The thing that catches my eye, like when you're talking, obviously, like 2021, it was a bit of a whitewash. Ireland were kind of dominant. 2022, I think Britain were getting better, and then last year it was 18-10. But I wanted to just run through. I kind of done a bit of studying in the 14 grade one races at the festival. 2021, it was 12-2 to Ireland, and we kind of thought that was a bit of a dominant flash. But 2022 and 2023, it was 10-4. So there is a bit of improvement, but in terms of the kind of big races, like I'm looking at the likes of kind of John Joe's getting a lot of money put into his yard, Ollie Murphy, like they are getting a lot of investment, even the Skeltons as well. But are they really kind of going to that level of threatening, like the Irish? Like we're looking at kind of this weekend, and there's the kind of grade twos in display. There's not a lot of British kind of top notch, as you would say, would go on and really cement a claim for Cheltenham. I think that would be the big concern. Like I don't really see that the big yards that are getting investment really moving forward, and kind of are they getting the money, like the owners, are they putting money into this yard and getting a group one, a grade one horse that they can really kind of go on and dominate a division with?
That's a difficulty thing. I mean, Constitution Hill's kind of the only kind of one Britain that's kind of like head and shoulders above them.
Mm-hmm.
And Nicky Henderson does gently get the odd one or two that are really, really top class. Paul Nicholls is very consistent, but the fact that you're walking away from the British champion trainer getting two winners like last year's festival is a massive success story. Tells a lot. It's just the depth. Not even Ireland. It's probably just the depth Willie Mullins has. Look at the races he's won last year. They were all top class grade ones really, and they had probably quite a lot of 1, 2, and 3s in behind as well. Ireland, I mean, the first 8 home in the Supreme were Irish trained.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of just an ominous sign, and then the article happened, Fabiolo, whacked John Bon. It was built into a match, and then it turned into a little bit of a mismatch up the hill. So you just have to kind of bow. I think, at the really top level, Ireland miles ahead, but in behind there, I think Britain are making some inroads. It's a cycle of power. There's one kind of dominant Irish superpower, and as you look at the markets, he's dominating the Cheltenham Festival market, isn't he? Because there's quite a lot of decent Gordon Elliott horses that you'd like, Paul Nicholls horses, and even Nicky Henderson horses that you might have been tempted to pull the trigger in this week or last week, and then you realise Willie Mullins has got a stable full load of other horses that we've not even seen yet. So if one of them becomes a star, then all of a sudden you're in a bit of bother. So it's very hard to gauge.
Next question. After his impressive run at Down Royal, could we see Gordon Elliott get closer to Willie Mullins in the Irish Trainers' Championship? I think to do that, Callum, he would really need. I think Punchestown. I think Wally just dominates that, and it's the end of the season. But the two big meetings he would need to improve on would be Christmas and Dublin Racing Festival. There, if he was to really improve his claims there, he would have a chance. But it's, as you say, the dominance of Mullins is just so hard.
Yeah, I mean the grade one dominance in open company is definitely, Willie Mullins is hunting ground, and it's the depth he's got that will definitely take him over the line towards the end of the season. I think people were quite dismissive about it. I thought it was a kind of a bit of a throwback to kind of maybe about 10 years ago. But with Gordon Elliott down Royal, yeah, we've seen he dominates there anyway. But there was some real kind of, it was 11 winners from 14. Some of them are quite impressive. I thought there was a bit more kind of depth across the board in all divisions this year, rather than kind of, obviously had the story of the rebuild in 2021 and what happened there. A year on the sidelines, it's going to take him. It's definitely going to take him a while to build up, the depth of pool of horses to even try and compete. But I think there's a decent spread of, maybe about 15 to 20 that he can go to war with at graded level. And he's got this plethora of handicap options in the Troy. I mean, plundering races like the Troy Town, Irish Grand National, things like that is good prize pots is an essential must for him to kind of even mount some sort of challenge. Nobody expects him to beat Mullins. I certainly don't, but I would be surprised if he's got to take it to the Dublin Racing Festival and maybe be in with an outside chance at Punchestown. But I think there'll be disappointment if he doesn't make a dent into Willie Mullins' domination this year. I think that would be a sign of progress.
Yeah, there's a lot more, like, in terms of kind of novice hurdlers and bumper horses. Like I think he's got two potential really nice horses for the future. The one that was 500 grand a mare, I think, Qualamita name. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of chat about Romeo Coolio, and I haven't seen any of them. I've just seen the point-to-points, but there seems to be a lot of investment in his yard. So you would maybe look in the next 2 or 3 years. Gigginstown seem to be backing him a lot. They're putting a lot of money in, and it just I do think this is his best team since his incident a few years ago. So I do think he's improving. There is a lot more improvement in his yard. So we will potentially see, maybe not by this year. I think this year's too soon, but the next couple of years I could see him really having a few really smart horses. And one thing we need to mention as well, we'll mention it with Jerry Calum. He's been desperately unlucky with some of his top horses, like Ginto, Mighty Potter, Three Stripe Life. They could have been 3 Gold Cup horses, do you know what I mean? And he could really have had a chance in the staying chase division to kind of dominate Ireland with them in most cases.
Yeah, and as I said, writing about it in the column, it was over the weekend, keeping Jack Kennedy fit's massive as well.
Yeah,
if a number one jockey, I mean, David Russell to come out of retirement for big festivals, and he did, at times, he did look like a guy that just came out of retirement, really. John Gainford is definitely a good progressing young jockey, but in the big occasion grade ones, you really need your kind of main stable jockey there.
Yeah.
And I think Jack Kennedy's potentially, I think he's the best in the country at the moment, in Ireland and Britain. When fully fit and when fully operating, I think he's that good, and he's still young, but injuries have just blighted him so much. He's had 10 Cheltenham Festival winners, for instance. He's missed 2 of the last 4, I think. Fully, and 1 partially as well. So yeah, he just needs keeping him fit as well is vitally important to have that kind of stability in the saddle. Gives a ground for the whole year. So I think that's crucial.
We will move on to talking about some of the horses that have caught our eye over the past few weeks. Best place to start is probably in Wetherby. 2 Saturdays ago, we had the return of Brave Man's Game in the Charlie Hall, but he was beaten by Gentleman's Game of Mounts Morris, the Irish Raider. Callum, this is a kind of difficult one to assess because people are saying, would he have won if he had jumped the last? I'm not sure he would have, but one thing that caught my eye was just his jumping is just superb.
It was to last, where he was asked to win it the last rather than maybe win it beforehand. He travelled as if he's the best in the race, and just blew up probably at the last, and that affected his jump. But he was brave at it and just got it a bit wrong. And Gentleman's Game race fit, hung in there, stay in his coattails and manage to go by him. Harry Cobden sensibly didn't throw the kitchen sink at him to try and recover the situation, because it's a threat for King George. Might take in the Betfair chase beforehand and go there. I don't think he lost much in defeat. You still find that, a Gold Cup second, a Grade 1 operator, hasn't beaten Gentleman's Game there. He still had. You're looking at that race and Gentleman's Game being backed in at 7-2. They kind of fancied turning him over, but you'd still expect a horse of Brave Man's Game's class to kind of still prevail there. So I was a bit disappointed in the result, not necessarily the performance. He's still the horse to beat at Kempton, King George, but I thought in the Gold Cup last year, I thought he did quite well on stamina grounds.
Yeah.
On that evidence, you do wonder if it might stretch him. You want to see him. You want to kind of see it. Funnily enough, in the Betfair chase, the other way around. I just like to see him go through the line in a finish. Preparing for this. If he's out the back. I think at Haydock they might try that. Try and track protector it. Don't make your own running this time, and run him to try and finish out your race well, because I think that's what a lot of people want to see. You'll want to see him strong at the line, and then you can progress to Kempton onward. But yeah, I think he's likely to win the King George, and I think he's probably going to be a likely place in the Gold Cup at the moment. I think that's where he is.
Do you know if he goes Betfair chase route, it's a real tough place to go, especially kind of not even a month after a kind of, I know, a big mistake, to be honest, against a horse like Protectorat, and it's not going to be a deep field, and you would fully expect Protectorat to win again. But do you think that would be a dampener for Kempton if he went there and had a real dust up with Protectorat?
Depends how it goes. If it is a real dust up and they are off the bridle and they are kind of battling each other, then yeah, it does become a negative, particularly in heavy ground. If it's in deep ground, that they won't go. If it's in good ground, they'll take the chance. But yeah, you know how Paul Nicholls campaigns horses. I mean, it's just it's very specific target trained, and it's going to be. The first one will be the King George, and then straight to Cheltenham, and then it'll either be Aintree or Punchestown, probably Punchestown. So yeah, he's going to be campaigning for a spring thing. His jumping was as good as ever. He just get found wanting at the last by a probably a decent upwardly mobile Irish rival that was race fit. So that's caught them out slightly. I don't think they'll be concerned. I still think it's probably odds against he's going to go to the Betfair chase anyway. But if they do, and it's in good ground, I'd just rather see him kind of. They're mulling this over anyway in the Gold Cup. Paul Nicholls has said to try and beat that they'll try and ride him a bit chillier, I think, and see what's what. Kind of go for a finishing burst a little bit of one run. So yeah, we can only wait and see. But I think his claims for the King George are unchanged, and his Gold Cup ones are unchanged as well.
Yeah, we did have another couple of performances at Wetherby that day where you wear it well, beat Lucia in the Mayor's Hurdle. She's into about 10-12 to 1 for the Mayor's Hurdle, and Botox Haas won a really poor West Yorkshire Hurdle. Actually, it was grim. Like Time Hill, I don't know what the plans is, but he's a different horse to what he was 2 years ago. But in terms of a kind of future for those two kind of races, could you see you wear it well? Probably could be a Mayor's Hurdle contender.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it reminds you of Love Envoy quite a lot. In Mayor's Novice Hurdle winner, trying to go to Cheltenham. Probably needs a bit better ground, maybe over 2.5 miles, but stuck at it well. Out battled Lucia, to be honest. Still potential in the second. Is there a quirk in her? Maybe because she was hanging in behind the winner quite a long way out there down the long straight. So we'll wait and see there. They're two decent British mares for sure. The Grade 2, yeah, it's not very good, is it? Botox Has was actually a tempting betting proposition, but it was given weight. Yeah. Quite a lot of the rivals. Dashel Drasher may have needed it, but probably over the hill. And Time Hill's just gone a little bit sour. But even though he does go well fresh, that ground would have been plenty soft for him. But he was kind of plugging on one pace a little bit. I think his sights need to be Lord.
Tuesday the 7th in Fairyhouse, we saw quite a good beginner's chase actually. Imagine if Gordon Elliott's won, beat a decent field. Sandokan game was in 4th. Pinkerton, I know the way you're thinking, was in 2nd. Decent propositions. That Sandokan again obviously needs it further, but Imagine could be a horse that it was. I kind of fancied him last year for the Martin Pipe, just didn't run his race, but could be an interesting chase prospect.
Yeah, reminds me a bit of Phil Door and the way he kind of operates. He's pretty, straightforward. You just wonder if he's got enough class for the top level. I can see him being heavily tried and maybe going for one of the big handicaps late in the line. I know the way you think he ran quite well in 2nd. He's an eye catcher. He always runs well late on. He was in my radar for the Martin Pipe last season, missed it. Again, I think the majority of them are probably handicap propositions down the line for spring. Sandokan again, obviously, trip was patently too short. You're not going to learn much about that. Probably did okay, so he's worth another chance over 3 miles. He's one of several good staying novice chasers this year. It's a brilliant division. He'll play a part.
Yeah. On the same day in Warwick, we saw a Martin Pipe winner in Iroko come out for his first chase start. He went off 11 to 10 and travelled really well. I think, again, we kind of both liked him last year for the Martin Pipe. I think he could be a really good horse for this season.
Yeah, I've got a lot of time for this horse. And I was surprised how much gears he showed. Bit sticky early on, understandable for a novice. The longer it went on, the better he was. Beat an okay Paul Nicholls horse. It was, pretty well touted in his stable tour. A race that he won with Stage Star at 11 to 10, the same price, and he went on and won a Turners. This guy I thought was an absolute 3 mile chaser. Now with Martin Pipe runners, we've got history of getting them wrong, and they turn 2.5 milers and then got him trip. I thought beforehand that he was too big in the Brown Advisory market. I think he still is a bit too big. I think 12s is. If he was trained by Willie Mullins, I think he'd be favourite here. I think that's how good he is. I think there's a bit snobbery about this, about where he's coming from. The yard, this yard are going places.
He could go Turners.
I think there's a chance that he might. I think it's one of those cases where if it's good ground, you go 3 miles. If it's soft, you go 2.5. I think he'd comfortably handle both, and I think he's a massive danger.
What do you think of Kempton, maybe the Cockle Star, like 3 miles round Kempton? I don't think would be any harm to him.
No, because he showed that. I mean, Warwick's a good jumping test. It's quite a nimble track as well. Going the other way around at Kempton, and I was surprised at how nimble he was and how quick he was. I thought he was a kind of out grinding galloper that would have to go like, at a Reynoldstown or something like that, or like a big kind of stamina sapping galloping 3 mile track. I thought he showed much more versatility than I thought he had. That opens the door to Kempton. I'm just gutted that the Dipper's gone as a race, because that would have been perfect on New Year's Day. That would have been perfect. I would have campaigned him just like Champ, because I think he's that good.
Yeah, it could be. Clonmel, couple of horses to talk about. We'll start with Allegory de Vassy. She beat Insta and Mascada, who I thought was quite disappointing. But Allegory de Vassy, she's now into about 5 to 2 for the mare's chase. She was obviously second best to Impervious last year, but with Impervious likely off the radar for a while, she could take the beating in a mare's chase.
She would. She sets the standard. She's favourite alongside Dino Blue, obviously. They're the two that are now dominating this market. Impervious is out for the season. She shrugged off 2 pretty bad post Cheltenham runs there. Ran well fresh in reappearance. She does have a tendency to do that. Go really well fresh. You remember her Mayor's Novice days where everyone's putting her up in the Mayor's Novice hurdle because of her first run. It was that wonderful. So can they back him up? That's the kind of doubt, and you're playing really short prices thinking so. She was out battled by Impervious up the hill. She didn't quite get home. Another year under the belt, she'd draw the stamina out a little bit more. But she's not entirely straightforward, and I don't think she's one that you would nail down trust at short prices, just because the mare's chase market looks, kind of hers for the taking, rated in the 150s or so. And it was a good performance. She's beat Institute, who run a race at front, who's definitely improving. Maybe not out of it either. And Mascada was quite disappointing, but she's done that before and come to life in spring, So the Mares Chase division, there's a lot of kind of, some you think, oh, that's ornery, and there's some, every horse there would probably have a shocking run or two. It's just kind of whether you kind of, it's whether who kind of comes to the boil at the right time for the right certain race, I think, tends to win that kind of race.
Yeah, we also saw brilliantly to see the return of Allaho. He won the Clonmel Oil, beat Janadil, who wasn't put in the race. Grange Walk wasn't good enough. But in terms of a kind of learning picture for the season, it was good just to see him back, and we know he's still there. That's the kind of the one thing to take away. I don't think we've learned anything of he's going to go and bolt up in a Ryanair again, but if he's anywhere near what he was, he will.
Yeah, totally agree. The way he races is kind of like very all or nothing. That was so easy though. That he didn't really learn much. He'll bowl out in front, but he didn't have a hard time. The ground was very tacky. He had a couple of blows.
Yeah.
And he got the job done with minimal fuss. You just have to take it on trust that he can kind of. He'll probably go to Thurles next, and then on to the Ryanair, something like that.
I don't think he's going to line up in a King George. I don't think they would risk it.
No, definitely not. I think there'll be another soft race at Thurles. Maybe get another run in between and go Cheltenham. But Ryanair's definitely his big goal. Willie Mullins has said that. Willie Mullins said that in his various stable tours, one horse it was quite consistent with was Allo, and it was quite a consistent positive bulletin. And he confirmed that positive impression. Like, he's not nailed down yet, because we need to know kind of what is he like really going out of his comfort zone. What is he like really kind of fired into things. It wasn't a brash performance. It wasn't a kind of trademark Gallagher blazing trail in the front performance. It was quite measured by his standards, because he can afford it to be. Will that happen to Ryanair? Look, I mean, there will be pace pressure on him. Steve Starr will go there, likes to go forward. There will be a bit more heat there in that regard. But yeah, if he's back, the engine does seem to be there. You can only be positive about it, and that's why he's been clipped in from 6s to 3s, because the percentage call is that you would kind of want to keep him on side rather than take him on.
Yeah, I'm just glad to see him back, and hopefully he has a horse that lines up at Cheltenham in March. Thursday in Newbury, we saw a nice Nicky Henderson novice in the form of Wilmount. Really nice performance. You can argue that what he's beat isn't really that good, but in terms of jumping, thought it was really nice for a first time out novice. He could be a nice horse this season.
Again, another one that was mentioned very positively. He did it really well. I think there's plenty more to come. He could go up and trip if he wanted to, but it's a race that Nicky Henderson has earmarked quite a few useful novices at. Altior being one notable one to kind of start out there. So yeah, and he was kind of high up the pecking order originally. Dussart won it before he kind of was sidelined, and I quite liked him for the Supreme that year. So yeah, I think 12-14 to 1. I think there's worse, definitely worse each way pokes if you're inclined to go into the novice hurling market at the moment. Personally, with Willie Mullins kind of dominating, having 3 really at the top of the market in each of them. I need to see them before betting on anything in this. It's as simple as that. But he's definitely on the radar.
He said something interesting, Nicky Henderson, after the race. He said we wouldn't have an issue with Supreme, but he would stay 2.5. But they seem to have a good one that they're talking about. The one with McManus, I think it's Jericho de Repine. They seem to be bigging him up. So we could see an avenue like in the past. He's never been afraid to run his best novices against each other at Cheltenham. So could we see maybe Wilmount against Jericho de Repine if they're 2 really nice horses? I don't think he would have an issue putting them back against each other in the Supreme, because he's done it in the years gone by when he's won it.
Oh, definitely. The year Altior won it, I mean, it's like Bouverdier came out of it and things like that, and there was a clutch of them.
Shishkin, Chantry House as well.
Definitely. Shishkin won it. All Art was there as well. So I mean, horses like that. So yeah, for different ownership, they'll definitely run. I think it's simple as that. There was another one at Ascot that was actually quite decent. He didn't win by a margin, but there's plenty of bundles of promise of that. So I mean, that automatically adds a decent layer to the Supreme Novice Hurdle, because you are turning to likes and against that compete with the Irish.
Yeah.
And he didn't need nothing last year. And this year he seems to have a few options, which is very encouraging for the division, because at least it gives you something to cling on to. I think Will Mount's probably top of the list. The market reflects that. 12s, 14s each way. Yeah, I can maybe see the appeal of it. I think we'll go Kennel Gate next, with the race that was Kennel Gate. We get the kind of new 2024 calendar that's kind of knocking things a little bit out of kilter. Do you know the racing thing did need a shake-up, but then you've got these kind of like set programs for set horses.
He said something as well. I think the Tollworth was obviously a race he targeted in the past, but now it's been moved. I think it's changed the name as well to Aintree. I don't think they seem to kind of dismiss that.
Well, the annoying thing there is that you've got the King George, obviously, so your best top jockeys and top horses will be going to King George. So how can you have a Grade 1 Tollworth at Aintree in the same day? Or have to be ridden by someone else? You know, that I think that's the point it's made. That's why it's absolutely crackers when you think about it in that regard. You know, and that is quite senseless, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. Friday in Exeter, Albert Bartlett won a stay away fee, won his first start over fences, made hard work of it, beat a good field actually, changing man of Joe Tizzards, I think could be a good one, Grey Donnan of the Skeltons as well. He did this really, really well when you consider, and I think we've completely kind of moved on in terms, this could be a real good horse in terms of a kind of galloping track, like a Brown Advisory.
Yeah, it was just a big battler, isn't he? You know, he did it now, but Bartlett, he just stays really, really well. Brilliant attitude. It's going to take a tough one to beat him. Just whether it's the tactical pace and class over a bare 3 miles. You know, his jumping will probably stand the test, but that kind of little tactical speed down the hill that you think that might catch him out. He has to kind of try and dominate Upton grades. He might not get it that way. Is he one for the Coto Star? He sends his best novices there anyway, but he does kind of look to be a bit more of a kind of grinder than a kind of, you know, pacey 3 miler in a way. Like, he's not kind of brave man's game type. He's kind of more kind of Denman-esque in the way kind of gallops and things like that. So if you can defy that, Grey Donning, I thought was going to shape quite well in Aintree in his last hurdle start. You know, did okay, and the changing man definitely ran really well up to grade. The Tizzards might be in for a better year as well. So again, it was another good novice chase to look positively at.
Yep, absolutely. We had 6 Gordon Elliott winners in Down Royal on Friday, just a few to name. With Brighter Days Ahead, she made a good claim for the Mares Novice Hurdle. Irish Point, I thought was very good. Found a 50 could be one for a Dranmore. Firefox could be one for the future as well. Who came out of those 6 Gordon Elliott winners caught your eye on Friday?
I thought Found the 50 was very impressive, even though Low Sun had a lot of problems with that. But that might have suited Colonel Mustard more. You know, Colonel Mustard is a regular placed horses, you know, in good open grade 2s and grade 3s like that. You know, it's a high class grade 1 novice. To thwack a 148 horse like that, you know, from the front with fences omitted, where you know that's got 2 mile pace. I thought it was very impressive. I mean, Gordon Elliott's won the Drinmore with, you know, Sam Crow, Mike Potter, Envoy Allen. All 3 went on to win the Drinmore from that maiden. And they all won that, and you know, 2 of them went odds-on favourites for the Turners. Get beat, and Sam Crow didn't and won. All at short prices. I think 20-1 is pretty reasonable for Turners. I think there's no doubt that he's a 2.5 mile horse, and I think if he didn't have this kind of blip at Aintree where he was really well backed 10-3, didn't find anything wrong with him, but he just didn't run his race for whatever reason. I think he's a lot better than a lot of people are making out. I thought, oh well, he's just gonna boss it from the front and that's it. He hit the line well. He looked, you know, strong, powerful. He looked straightforward. He was arrow straight, you know, down and run in for about 3-4 furlongs, and then head down, and he was kept up to his work. And I was quite impressed. I mean, think about it. I mean, Mighty Potter won that, and he was clipped into 10s immediately. He bombed out at Cheltenham, didn't like it. He won the Drinmore emphatically, and it was the best performance of the season. Now, I'm not saying that he is Mighty Potter, but he could well be. Mighty Port was 10s at this stage last year. This guy's 20s. I don't really understand why. I think I've been mulling along a couple of days backing him for the Turners because I think 20s is too big. I think he's probably Elliott's number one for that race, without a doubt. He campaigns horses like that. So, and I think he's been a very good yardstick with bundles of experience easily in debut. And he had a bit of good hurdle form in behind by Corbett's Cross, who he met wrong with no experience whatsoever, only beating a neck. And he went on to win the Albert Bartlett. Well, he should have won the Albert Bartlett. He ran out. He looked like a winner, and he definitely looked a class act. And in that chase, he's been third, and he was kind of corkscrewing at a couple. I mean, I don't find the 50, but he went out front, put some of them out their comfort zone. The main market rivals in second and can't lay a glove on him, even though the setup of the race would have suited the second more, I think, because it's not as good a jumper, but they've taken out half the fences, and they've got this long run in where you've got this 2 mile placed horse that can run to 150 in the flat over hurdles. You think that'll suit that more than found the 50? It didn't. I was wildly impressed. There's a question mark about how he travels. Obviously, maintains his form into spring, but that was hanging over Mighty Port as well. And yeah, I think he's pretty good. That was the one big performance, and still the standout price for me. For Cheltenham.
Yeah, we'll move into Saturday. Just before we touch on the kind of racing at Down Royal, Wincanton and Aintree, any kind of clues? We saw Nappers Hill won, Rubod looked fine, Giovinco won, did what he had to do. Gueskill's probably a national horse. Any of them potential Cheltenham clues?
No, it was just kind of a case of backing all the odds-on ones and liking them and firming them up successfully, make some money out of it. Giovinco's been branded as a phenomenal horse, and he did it quite well. What's he beat? Low Sun, big weight. He does travel like a class act. He's another one you've got to throw into this really hot 3 mile division. Ikera Lens, ominous qualifying in the Pertont final was that day as well, when he was third. That was impressive. That looks an obvious plot. 20-1 was hovering there immediately afterwards, and I looked up his back form, and I didn't really fully trust him, so I left it alone. And now obviously he's 12s, and that's the kind of way you've got to work these days at these things. He's getting obvious chances. His stamina is just a bit of a doubt in his trustworthiness, but he's a year older, so he might be a bit better. West Balboa was decent, brewing up a storm. I think she's more of a stayer than a mare's hurdle type, though. I would rather have her at 20s for a stayer's hurdle than 16s for a mare's hurdle at the moment. If it's bottomless, she might be a player in a mare's hurdle, but I think she's worth having a go at the stayers trip. So yeah, Wincanton, it's just the Paul Nicholls show, really.
Yeah.
And regularly, Nappers Hill I thought was very good. Solid at that type. 2 mile 4, and too much boot for them. I thought Captain Conby shaped quite well in third, probably a handicap project for Ireland for later down the line. And Rubo's going to keep winning these kind of Grade 2 elite hurdles everywhere he goes till he goes chasing next year. But he's not a Cheltenham horse, but he's probably going to take on Constitution Hill at Christmas, which is at least something.
Yeah, could be interesting. Down Royal, Down Memory Lane was a horse I quite liked. Kind of last season winning a bumper, went and won a maiden hurdle at Down Royal. Derek O'Connor won it on the sniff, but I don't think he beat a good field. I think he's one that could potentially, I think him and Firefox are probably the 2 Gordon Elliott horses I would say novice hurdlers could be really good, but I don't think we've learned just how good it can be after that.
No, it's the same with all these kind of main hurdles, really. It's hard to assess what's in behind them, even main novice chases, and that's why I kind of liked found the 50 more, because I think there's quite a lot of substance in behind that form. And conceding experience, things like that. Here, yeah, he's not beating much, but he needs to jump a little bit slicker. But the engine and pace, he couldn't have been ridden more confidently. It was very taking. Again, things like the Royal Bond is going to reveal a lot more, isn't he? But yeah, he's another one that you definitely want to keep on the right side of at this stage of the season.
We saw the first Grade 1 of the season, and it was a brilliant race. It was won by Jerry Calum. He was 18-1 jumping the last fence, by the way. So, just to say that if you didn't fancy him, It was a weird race. I think a lot of credit has to go to Jack Kennedy for just getting out of him the way he did. Envoy Allen, I thought, travelled really well into the race. Though all other three horses were race fit, they'd had a run. In terms of Gold Cup, has he done his chances better by the way he's won that?
Yeah, he's enhanced his chances. He's definitely enhanced his claims. It's whether the big question, I think, you've got in your head is he more of a Don Cossack than a Don Poley? I fear it's the latter. To be honest, I think he might get. I think he might get outpaced here. He was outpaced here, and then kind of took a blow and then ran on again. That's all well and good, but in respect with Envoy Allen conflated, he'll be taking on better kind of probably better types in the Gold Cup itself, and if he doesn't have that tactical pace, I think they will. I think if the very best run to their very best, they will get away from him. That's no guarantee, but that's the issue for him, really, isn't it? Yeah, he got there in the last stride. There, he didn't in March, which is quite fine margins, and I can understand why people absolutely adore this horse. I mean, I certainly do. He's done it the hard way. He's probably going the wrong way round for a start. He's conceding race fitness. He's been carried left by conflated almost every fence. He made a mistake at the third, which was quite a big error that you'd have went, oh well. It was an error that you would have made him odds against to win rather than odds for. A lot went wrong. He had to switch on the turn as well, and he pulled out the fire. He never looked like he was going to win at all at any point, and I backed him until the final 100 yards. But I thought, oh, we might get a chance here. And it was. I was getting flashbacks to. I think everyone was when they were on him in the RSA, the Brown Advisory. It was, is he going to get there? And I never really thought he would, and I never really thought he would here, and somehow he did. So I was very impressed with what he's done it. Look, if he's on the periphery and he's 3-4 lengths away over the last, you're in trouble. He will definitely be there. It's just whether he can keep up. He's got a chance. I'm definitely not rule him out, but I wouldn't be. I've not backed anything Gold Cup market yet, obviously, but I'm happy enough to wait. But yeah, he's going to go there. He's got a set plan. He's going to have one more run and then go to the Gold Cup. Yeah, he's definitely enhanced his claims. Am I a full believer? Did I go, wow, that's a Gold Cup winner afterwards? No. Did I rule him out? Certainly not. Yeah, I'm definitely on the fence with him. But it was just a brilliant race to watch. It kind of really kick-started the season for me. That's what you want, a proper Grade 1.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And we saw potentially a couple of horses for the cross country as well, if you're to believe reports. Conflated, apparently the best ever jump over banks. Manel Indo, I don't know what they're thinking with that, but again, I don't know if that's just crap chat at this stage of the season. But Naas, I thought we saw a couple of good horses. You had a good day on Sunday at Naas. Slade Steel, Mahon's Way, I thought was good as well. Dino Blue, I thought, would she have won if Sir Gerhard had jumped? I thought Sir Gerhard was travelling really well into the race, but I think Dino Blue is a really nice horse for the future for this season. I've thought she's the type of progressive horse that could go from a handicap into a mare's chase division. And Grangeclare West, I thought, set a good marker.
Yeah, on Grangeclare West, a decent race. So it was Corpus Cross. It was in Grangeclare West race, of course. He was third. We've seen this before with Grangeclare West last year, where he looked like a Ballymore winner in waiting.
Yeah.
On hurling debut, he's done something. He's had issues before. You need to see him to back. You need him to back it up. It's simple as that to kind of entertain him. It's an anti-post situation. Dino Blue did it well. Held off Phil Dore quite nicely. Has every chance in the mare's chase. It's just whether she'll get the trip. I think she's got plenty of pace. Second in the Grand Annual. Again, Baby Jump was a little bit sticky at Cheltenham that day. She's improving. It's just about whether she gets the trip up the hill. We've seen quite a few not get it going up mare's chase. And if I want to see her run over 2.5 miles this season before backing her for Cheltenham to actually see if she can get up the hill, because that's as stiff as it gets in the new course, and it's found out. I mean, it found out Allegory de Vassy last year. It could find out her. I'd be a bit mindful of that. In Man's Way, and Slade Steel have both kind of franked high-class bumper form. They both look like horses that were going to definitely improve for main hurdles. I backed both the double in the column. I was pretty pleased. And I think both of them are nice. And I think both of them are overpriced, about 25, 33 to 1 for the respective races, just because they've seen it as a form boost for Mirazur West and Ballyburn, because they were well behind either of them respectively in their bumper days. So, and they're kind of being a bit overlooked there. So yeah, definitely track both of them and follow them, because I think Man's Way could definitely go up and trip. He's certainly a big stayer. And Slade Steel apparently needed the run, turned over King of Kingsfield, who's a bit of a
Rubbish.
bridle merchant, a total bridle merchant and overhyped. But yeah, you still need to go and win it. And King Kingsfield made it into a true test, and Slade Steel wasn't found for fitness. They might try him in the Laws on Ace, for instance. It might be Henry de Bromhead's 2.5 mile. Rob Coeur have got a lot of exciting horses coming up as well. So they're definitely expected to be a force in the spring festivals. Yeah, it was another day where there was lots to like.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will move into what's coming up this weekend. We have the 3-day Cheltenham November meeting to look forward to. We have declarations for Friday and Saturday. We've also got a couple of good races at Navan to look at. We'll start on Friday. We have the Arco Trial Novices Chase over 2 miles, a Grade 2, which is probably the worst Grade 2 I've ever seen in my life. JPR1 leads the market 6-4, Mighty Tom 11-4, Petit Tonnerre for John Joe Neal at 3-1, and Home Public for Oliver Greenhall and Josh Guerrero at 5s. What a grim state of affairs this is, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for picking the worst race of the whole weekend.
Yeah. Horrible.
Yeah, it's an easy division to knock, isn't it? But GPR1 right favourite, probably the most progressive in here, has won, had a run under his belt. Beat Montvale by 2 lengths. It's Newton Abbott form. I mean,
yeah,
can't really take it too literally. And it's between him and I think the outsider in Home Public.
that's one I was coming down on as well.
I think he'd kind of just throw a novice chaser into a handicap rated 135 and win as a well-back favourite at Weatherby. It was pretty good form. I think he's the value pick in that race. That form is, except, and also the other 3 like being held up. He could dictate things from front and maybe dominate, put them under pressure a little bit. Soft ground is a little bit of a concern if it keeps raining for him, though. But it's between him and GPR1 for me, and I'd be leaning towards Home Public just in the prices.
Yeah, I think Home Public could be an each way player in that race. Not that you're getting much each way value. Moving into the Grade 2 Novices Hurdle, Captain Teague is at 4-6. I think with what he's up against, I think Captain Teague is at 4-6 is probably a decent price. I think he'll win here comfortably. I think he should.
Yeah, he was just a shade odds against, wasn't he, in the week, and they've seen the light, and yeah, he should do what Hermes Allen did last.
Think he's better than Hermes Allen at this stage?
His bumper form suggests that he probably is. Yeah, the great thing is that he doesn't need to be to win this, and he's got less to beat as well than Hermes Allen did, I would think, than he did last year. So yeah, you'd expect him to win it. 46, no gimme, but yeah, if he's probably one to stick in multiples. Yeah, I'd expect him to win that fairly easily.
We also have on Friday, we've got a couple of decent races. We've got the Paddy Power Handicap Chase. Calico leads the market in there. You've got the Cross Country Handicap, which we could see a dust up between Delta Work and Galvin. Any strong fancies for Friday at Cheltenham?
I'll look at that Cross Country. I mean, Delta Works was initially 64. He's gone out to 5-2.
Yeah.
I think he should win this. I don't know why. The talk of conflated going here would be quite concerning for maybe Delta Work, because it would smack the kind of Tiger Old Delta Work situation of years back if Gigginstown go 2 and you've got Galvin kind of sniffing about there. If it stays soft, I don't think Galvin's got much of a chance. He's got a £7 claimer. He's conceding race fitness to all these. Delta Work's got Rob James is taking 7, but Delawart's kind of a pound better off at the weights of him. Delawart get beaten this last year because he wasn't race fit. This isn't an excuse this year, and I think Gordon Elliott will want to see a little bit more verve from him here. Hence why he's had this run at Punchestown in the Grade 3 behind Manila Indo before. He should come on for that. He needs to, and I think he needs to win this to kind of prove that he's still the kind of top dog for the cross country come March. So, and I do expect him to win. Obviously, back of the lash has won it last twice. Soft ground be concern for him though. If it keeps raining, he's out of it. The only one at a price that I thought was tentatively interesting was Musical Slave of the Hobbs team. They're not in great form, but they did something similar with Disha Abba last year, who was second, very close second to back in the lash. He could be the springer in this, but that's all I would say.
Let's move into Saturday. The big race is the Paddy Power Gold Cup. We have quite a decent field actually turned up for this. Stage Star's been declared to run. He sets the market 9-2. You've got the first and second in the turners as well. Obviously, not long till May at 7-1. Real Whacker, Brown Advisory winner 15-2. You've got Unexpected Party, El Redoto, Fugitive. It's a decent Paddy Power actually. You've got an eye-catching pick here.
Not really, but I've got an angle. I think the market's all wrong in this.
Yeah.
I think the front six don't interest me really. They're all kind of young, progressive novices, but I think that kind of profile is kind of inflating their chances a little bit. Stage Star and the Real Whacker, are they not going to take each other on from front?
That's what I thought.
I thought they might set this up for somebody. El Redoto probably needs a run, but is in a decent mark. I think he's more of one that's. I think he's more interesting later down the line. I don't think this will be his race. And jockey booking says it's not going to be out the top ones. I think Not Long Till May probably has the best chance because he's had a run under his belt over an inadequate 2 miles where he was fourth behind Dancing on My Own. Mm-hmm. So out the top six, it's Not Long Till May that would be the most interesting favourite. I think Angel's Breath has a chance.
I would round them out too long with that horse.
Ran quite well at Chepstow last time out. Shaped as if this kind of test would suit. Softer ground is in his favour. He's only 9. He's not totally out of it. Easy as That was another one at each way price, about 14s. It was interesting. Venetia Williams yarded in flying form. He was tremendously progressive until at Sandown. Everything went wrong for him in March, and he's not been seen since. He was 64th favourite that day for a pretty good race. No risk to flow. Kyrgyzstan beat him. We know that Venetia Williams can kind of come up with one and back. So he was on the radar. He's well weighted, and I think Final Orders 22s is a bit big as well. He had a little pipe opener at Chepstow, where he was 4th or 5th behind Al Dancer. Again, he looked like he did the step up and trip that day. And he wasn't kind of off. I thought either. So he's back down to 148. I think he'd have a squeak as well. So there's a few ideas that I've got at prices, but the 4 that I've mentioned are the ones that I would primarily focus on. But I think there's some value in this race because I don't totally agree with the market.
No, well, we'll move into Navan. We've got a few on Saturday to talk about. It was Mullen Hurdle, Home by the Lee. Bob Ollinger's been declared, which I was quite surprised about. Zana here could be one that interests me here. Sire de Berley is interesting as well. This could be quite a good race, but we all know what's going to travel the best up until 2 out. It's going to be Bob Ollinger. They won't win.
I think so. Potentially, the yard are going well. He can go well, fairly fresh at times. His best run of the season was in this last year when he was behind Home by the Lee. Home by the Lee is probably the one to beat here again if the ground is heavy, because that might be a bit too demanding for Zana here. Zana here's getting £9 off him, so. So you can form a case for those 3. Bustleton, it's just a starting point for him. Sarah Belly, surely this is too short. Andy Dufresne's, miles off wrong in the weights. So yeah, you can take your pick from it. If you go to the well with Bob Ollinger again, don't think I can, but it's between Home by the Lee and Zana here for me.
Yeah, same. Forcia Chase, quite an interesting fields lined up for this. Sanwa, Dysart, Dynamo, obviously making the step up to open company. Rivière de Tail is laying up Captain Guinness as well. This is quite a decent race. It's quite hard to you see. Sanwa, I think you've kind of spoken in the preview for the Ryanair.
Yeah, I think I like Banbridge, but I think we've got to like Sunrise well for that. 33s. He's got a bit to find, but I think he was progressing over fences. He was pretty consistent. He was placing all the big races. He generally did quite well. I think there's still a bit of mileage in him, and I think this trip's a little bit too short for him to be perfectly honest. Now I think his best run this season was at Aintree when he stepped up 2.5 in behind Banbridge, and I think that's the kind of novice form you've got to take into the Ryanair if you want to take Alhorn. So might as well back both. This is Captain Guinness's starting point for a while, and this is the race that he won last season before trying to take on higher company, where he was second in 3 Grade 1s after winning this, and I think he'll win this again.
Yeah, interesting. We then have a beginner's chase, which is probably as good as you'll see this season. Declared are Facile Vega in the pocket, and we also have a couple of Gordon Elliott interesting horses, San Felician, who I don't think's ran since the Coral Cup, and Safarua. What a beginner's chase this could be.
Yeah, 612-day absence for Saint Felicien. He was favourite for that Coral Cup as well, and bombed out. He's an interesting one. See it interesting. Probably a watching brief. See if he runs with any kind of sort of encouragement. Gordon Elliott's won the last 3 of these. Probably won't win it this time with class acts like Facile Vega in the pocket, locking horns. This is a great potential duel. I think Facile Vega probably wins in huddle form. It's hard to make a case for in the pocket and behind, but Henry de Bromhead novices might be a bit more further forward than Willie Mullins's. I think this has been a more kind of long-term plan for in the pocket than it has for Facile Vega, and he might be a bit fitter, but yeah, it's hard to kind of make that. Facile Vega probably wins, and in the pocket's probably going to be staying on in behind second. That seems to be the likelihood outcome, doesn't it?
I really want this to be a similar story to the Fernie Hollow Bob Ollinger maiden hurdle we saw a couple of years ago, where we know Fernie Hollow was a supreme horse, and we know Bob Ollinger needs a step up trip, and I want this to be the case here, as we'll talk about later on. Facile Vega wins in the pocket, close second, but needing further would be the ideal outcome for me. Sunday, let's move to Cheltenham. We have the slower chase. Looks like we're going to see the return of John Bon. He will take on Edward Stone. There's an interesting field here. You've got Nubi Negra will likely go. Banbridge, I'm not sure if he will. But regard to John Bon, if he's going to be what we think he could be, potentially the star British chaser this season, he would need to win this.
Yeah, and he's odds on, and 1 to 2, 11 to 4 against with Edwardstone's probably sounds fair. And Edwardstone's £2 clear, but this tends to go to a kind of progressive younger horse. And the last 9-year-old that won this was Sprinter Sacred 2015. So your up and coming generation tend to do quite well. Maybe Negra's won the last twice. Again, ground's going to be that's important here. It's currently soft. That's no use for Banbridge. He won't go. Edited the gates a bit. Is he long in the tooth? But 14 to 1, probably a big price in his peak efforts. Cheltenham soft ground, which was in January in the rearranged Clarence House. So I mean, you could argue a case for him each way if you're that desperate. Dancing on My Own will make the pace for Henry de Bromhead trying to go up and trip, pace fit. Yeah, there's pitfalls here. I think Edwardson will be more of a 2.5 mile down the line. It's just a starting point for him, isn't it? Yeah. If you want to see any competition, El Fabiolo, you want to see John Bon win this and win this well. So for the sake of the division, I would just probably step back and hope that he wins and not play.
I don't think it's a betting heat. The Greatwood usually is a betting heat, the handicap hurdle, but we do have something really eye-catching here, which is, it looks to be a Willie Mullins, Paul Byrne plot, and only a matter of time is in. It looks like he's going to run one in off 115, 3 to 1. It's been gambled off the boards in recent weeks. 7 to 1 at the start. It's now 3 to 1. Could this just be massively well in? Who's going to ride it with Brian Hayes?
Possibly. It's a bit low of a weight for Paul Townend to come over, isn't it, or something? That's not going to happen anyway, is it? So we'll see. It might be a good British standing. might be sick of young claimer. Or
Yeah, let's take more weight off
let's
of that.
take more weight off it. He ran in the Marine Nationals maiden where he was nowhere. He was at Cork and he ran out. He's got a mark of 105 in Ireland, so it's 115 up here. We obviously think as well, and the owner did this with the shunter in this race, so you can see the obvious angle in there. There's a lot of horses, nice horses that you're liking this. Ibrigo Lord ran a cracker at Sandown. I think he's definitely one to follow for the future.
Yeah.
Skelton's can target this well. Load of Suds has decent place form. The main line won the Welsh Champion Hurdles race fit.
I thought Knickerbocker Glory could be one that I quite liked for this.
He ran quite well. It's just well, I mean, Harry Skelton's not picked him. That might be a bit. Tristan Durrell's won the last day with him at Ascot, where he absolutely hacked up by 4.5 lengths. So, and Jim Coco was laid out for this last year, and things didn't quite fall for me. Bumped it. I like to move it in favourite. He's only £2 higher. Is there something like I like to move it in this? You know, you're looking at the favourite probably, and it's always a warm handicap. It's just kind of trying to find the right horse for the right day in this, and it's very tricky. And I've not landed in anything here yet.
No. Well, obviously, we'll be sharing our picks for the weekend in each meeting, so stay tuned for that. Final race to talk about is the Troy Town at Navan. 24 entries, 17 trained by Gordon Elliott. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it's 7-1 the field. You've got a Doubles Coachman, Hollow Games, Gervais, Largy Debut. There's some decent horses in here. I like one that isn't a Gordon Elliott horse. I think that the Devil's Coachman could be really, really well in here off 147.
Yeah, he's near the top of the market, and I can see why. Hollow Games as well. I think the market's pretty well formed for this, even though that Gordon Elliott, dominates this. A bit like the Grade 1 entries came out for Fairy House as well. I think, I think 3 trainers had about 85% of the entries, and Willie Mullins had about 40-odd%. Whether that's how healthy that is going forward, I'm not particularly sure. Yeah, it's probably going to be one of Elliott's, isn't it, that's going to win this. I've not really had a deep enough look at this, and who Jack Kennedy's on will probably be significant. Hall Games was the one. He's definitely got a big handicap in him. He was the one that was kind of leading to it at this really early stage. But yeah, I'm happy to leave it alone for now for betting purposes. See what the final field is.
Yeah, we will move. We will obviously have our big selections over the weekend, so stay tuned. We'll move into the big point. Calum, I think it's really important this week that we send our best wishes to Graham Lee and his family, obviously, in his recovery. But one thing I wanted to touch on is just how much the kind of racing communities came together for in support of Graham Lee. We've seen the Just Giving pages around about 70,000. We saw AP McCoy, president of the Injured Jockeys Club, and very, very supportive of it as well. It just shows, obviously, like, we hate seeing jockeys suffering really bad injuries, but when that happens, we do see a lot of really important people kind of come together and really show support.
Yeah, I think it's gone up to 100,000 now. I think it's past that barrier. This morning, the last time I checked, his young daughter set it up, and it's received a very good response. The update yesterday was better than the one that was initially received. He's out of surgery, and he's they're trying to get him comfortable, but there is still kind of doubts about how serious this spinal injury is. So I mean, all we can do is keep fingers crossed, and if you have a kind of profitable time of things in the last couple of days, and certainly donate if you can, and things like that, and support. But yeah, the injured jockeys fund are hugely important when it comes to these things. And it's a really dangerous sport at the end of the day, and jockeys put themselves in harm's way every single day, whether it's in the stalls or whether it's jumping fences or hurdles. There is an element of real danger to it. Things are improving all the time, but you can never remove the risk of sport, and everyone understands that. So yeah, all we can do is fingers crossed and hope, because he is a remarkable jockey. I mean, to go from the national hunt scene, win a Grand National, and win the Ascot Gold Cup in the same career. He's only jockey to ever do that, and he's he's well established, experienced jockey in the Northern Circuit, and he's highly respected by everyone in the weighing room, and race scores alike. So yeah, all we can do is hope for the best.
Yeah, we certainly do. We send our best wishes to the family of Graham Lee. We'll move into our lucky 15. So this is a big one. This is where we start the season. We've got a lucky 15. We picked 4 horses. We put them into a line together for the Cheltenham Festival. We're going to make it interesting this year. We have the option to sub one out. If one turns out to be a nightmare pick, we can take them out, but we can only do it between Christmas and Cheltenham. So we'll have to stick with them to Christmas. And then if one of them's not really hitting the heights that we thought, we can sub them out and put another one in and take the current price at the time. So yeah, well, I mean, it's an interesting line. We always start well. I think we had a couple of winners each last year in it, so could hopefully be the same profitable avenue again. Calum, do you want to start?
Yes, I'll go. If only the swap thing can work in real life, that would be fantastic. Particularly 1 year. I can remember when we did a clean sweep in Dobbin last year. Yes, I'll start. In the Arkle, Facile Vega, 92.
Okay.
I think it's got a really good chance. I'm more inclined to back him than Marine National at the moment because I'm hearing better things about the prep for that horse than for Marine National. And he's out early, and it's a nice kind of starting point. And I think you're probably taking the Irish Arkle. I think he's straightforward. And I think things didn't go well from last season, but he still did quite well to overcome them and still be quite top class. So I think there's more scope and more to come over fences. And I think the Arkle's the likely route he's going to go. Iroko in the Brown Advisory would be second in the list. It's hoping to go here. It's fast ground. He showed a lot of pace in Warwick. I've always thought he'd be a very good chaser. Always thought he was overpriced, and I still think he just about is. It's worth considering the save on the tunnels. He has 71 William Hill any race, which I think is probably the bet now, if you like him. But I'll put him in for the Brown Advisory. Third in would be In the Pocket in the tunnels. Facile Vega's favourite for that. I think Facile Vega will beat him over the weekend, and as you mentioned with the Bob Onser Fairly Hollow situation, I think those top two will probably take leading pass over their respective novice divisions. I think one will go one way, the other will go the other way, and I'm hoping it's that way. So you'll find out quite quickly with this if you're onto something or not. It might be knackered by Monday morning, but yeah, I'll put him in. I think he's a reasonable price at 10s. He'd be favourite if things shape kind of the way they are, or the way I think they might. So and then in the stairs hurdle, Tia Hupu.
Okay.
Put him in at 6s. I think he's easy to knock because it's an open division and people want to kind of crab him for being second last year, and last year was weak and things like that. This French thing's been backed off the boards. God knows why. Not for me at all. I think they're just piling into one because they want to pile into one. And while I think he's just one of 4 or 5 that you can have each way poke at this stage. Tihupu sets a standard. I think he'll improve. He'll be campaigned around to kind of make amends for last year, and I think Gordon Elliott will get that right because it's such a long-term goal. And I think that'll be the main focus. And he'll start off with the Hatton's Grace, and he's going to pull his path there. And I think he's going to be a leading player, no matter what. So yeah, that would be my 4. It's about 4,500 to 1.
Yep, I'm with you on 2 of them. I think we're fairly agreeing on Facile Vega and In the Pocket, and I think we hope that both kind of shape up well at Naas. So I'm both in. My other one, first of all, I've went for a horse in the Supreme. His form was given a boost over the weekend. His price is maybe a bit shorter than I would want it to be, but I think Mirazur West could be a really good contender for the Supreme. Obviously, it just depends how he jumps a hurdle, but I think Malon's Way has done his form no harm. Half-brother to Fairney Hollow. I hope he's not as brittle as Fairney Hollow, but he just looked the way he won his bumper in March, I thought was very, very good. I just think he ticks the boxes for a Supreme type. Want to see him, I think we'll maybe see him at Christmas in a maiden hurdle. Could potentially go down the route of a grade 1 at Leopardstown or something like that. So, yep, 8 to 1, he would be on my list for the Supreme. Went for the Mare's Chase, and I'm going to throw her in early, Dino Blue. I think 4-1's a little bit short, but I think she's just so progressive. I think the way she won her handicap after Cheltenham, I thought was very good. Probably should have got closer to Muscada in the Grand Annual, just obviously belted the last. She's just always been a horse that I think is better than what she's shown. I think this year, the way she saw Fildor, would she have beat Sir Gerhard? I don't know, but I think Sir Gerhard's a very, very good horse in his own right. And I think Dino Blue, just for me, at 4-1. I think Mines comes in at 1,825 to 1. So that's my lucky 15. But we're off to win start. We agree on 2. We've never had that before. But Facile Vegan in the pocket, we're both on our list.
Yeah, I found it tough. I mean, I've kind of tracked a lot I've landed in quite a lot of horses that I like, but they're all kind of mishmash in the same division. Novice Hurlers, I just can't quite touch yet because I've not seen enough really at this stage. But yeah, it's lucky 15 is always a decent kind of starting point for the season to kind of think, if you're kind of thinking the way trainers are thinking at the start, and your stable tour and the certain horses and you kind of align, so it's a decent starting point. But yeah, you've got to kind of have some sort of dream, and that's kind of a good way to go about it, I think.
Yep, absolutely. We're off to a winning. We're hopefully going to be off to a winning start. We'll hopefully get a good idea of what we've picked this coming weekend. So we'll move into what's coming up next week, and that'll do us for the first episode of the new series. Calum, always a pleasure. Thank you very much, and best of luck for your punting this weekend.
Yeah, I hope it's as good as last weekend, which went quite well. So it's been a decent start, and hopefully maintain it throughout the season.
Brilliant. That's fine. Thank you very much indeed, everyone. We'll see you soon, and follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels. We'll see you soon. Cheers.